Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90, which is broadcasting from the central building along the Stool Street in the heart of our city, Kampala. We are also live on our website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. While on that website, you click on the icon with the word Listen Live. This radio station is also live on the different radio listening apps. Tune in Afro Mobile, your TV channel, and also live on DSTV, where our audio channel is 897, and on Star Times, our audio channel is 97. There are two ways to contribute to this discussion. One of the ways is actually to send in a message via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. The other option is actually to call in. Time allowing, I'll open the phone lines for you to actually do so. Today, we'll be looking at emerging issues that are said to be a danger or likely to erode public trust in the judiciary. Now, access to justice remains a key issue in Uganda, with calls to the judiciary to address a number of impediments, including delays to handle cases, incidents of corruption, and interference with court matters. Now, some of these issues became apparent recently as some members of the legal fraternity expressed concern about them as the judiciary was planning to hold the annual New Lawyer Day. Now, President of the Law Society did raise some of these issues at the event, saying that the public trust that the judiciary has enjoyed risks being eroded if such issues are not addressed. Now, the judiciary has always promised to address most of the challenges hampering access to justice, with the appointment of more judges, construction of more courts, and interventions such as use of technology. So today, our focus will be on these challenges and what can be done to address them as we continue the push to ensure there is easy access to justice for all Ugandans. My name is Kenneth Lukwagandason, your host, and my guest today, Mr. Aaron Kiza. He is a human rights lawyer. He's among those who are unhappy about the state of affairs when it comes to the way the judiciary has been handling some issues recently. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on Spectrum, Mr. Aaron Kiza.
Thank you for hosting me. It's my pleasure to be here.
We are going to be joined on the line by His Worship James Mawanda Eremie, who is the judiciary spokesperson. We are doing our best to actually reach out and make him part of this discussion. Aaron Kiza, very quickly, let's begin with you. You belong to a group of lawyers who some people have branded as rebels, who have been raising a number of issues concerning the happenings in the judiciary. What exactly are the issues that you're concerned about?
No, first of all, to the people calling us rebels, let me say it's a badge of honor and dignified to rebel against injustice and against things that oppress the citizens of this country. So those are robes we gladly wear. The issues that brought us to this moment of reaching an extent of urging successfully our comrade lawyers to boycott the new law year organized by the judiciary at its headquarters recently, they include the erosion, systemic and systematic erosion of judicial independence, threatened chiefly by the executive and the chief executive, who is in the habit of ordering judges around, threatening them with his remarks, and now reducing his threats and orders to the judiciary into writing. When that happens, we don't have an independent judiciary. When we don't have an independent judiciary, there is no way citizens can hold the government to account, and there is no way the judiciary, which has been undermined by the very people supposed to protect it, can hold the government to account, stop it from violating our rights, or stop it from overstepping its powers.
All right, let's look at some of the issues you raise. You say there's been interference. You say the chief executive office has been writing to the judiciary. Give us an incident. What would you give as an example where you think His Excellency the President has been ordering around the judiciary?
Probably listless, but the recent in our memory includes a letter under his hand and official acknowledged writing to the Chief Justice and saying that the judge's judgment was born of sick logic. So that went, he was writing, telling the Chief Justice how the matter should be handled. Unfortunately, but little wonder, in the climate of real that in which the whole country is immersed, orders soon came from court reflecting the psychological criticism of the president. We have him on video claiming that he's always lobbying judges, calling the Chief Justice, calling the principal judge, himself speaking, President Museveni. So these are his confessions, and talking about in the most casual, careless manner, joking about it as if it was something good, and actually complaining that he has become a lobbyist. We know his consistent hostile rhetoric against the grant of bail to suspects, which the application for which is a constitutional right, and which is a decision that is best left to judges applying the law, applying discretion governed by the law. The president has no business determining who gets bail, who doesn't. So we think that those incidences, amongst others, some of which we never get to know because he doesn't tell us every time he lobbies the judiciary. We're even lucky to get that evidence. And he was addressing judges in their presence. Then also remember that it wasn't very long ago when on the day that we are celebrating the memory, we are honoring the memory of former Chief Justice Ben Chwanuka, who is an icon of judicial independence and who paid the ultimate price. He said that he ridiculed judicial independence and said for him he doesn't know what it is. So we have hostility from government and specifically the President of the Republic of Uganda to judicial independence, routinely interfering both publicly and also quietly, undermining the judiciary.
What would you tell somebody who actually says that, look, we have three pillars of the state, the executive, parliament and the judiciary, and it's okay for both to engage from time to time. One can advise the other and even critique.
They can do coffee on public functions, but none should do the other's work or order the other around except in accordance with the law. What the president is doing is unlawful, is unconstitutional. The judiciary needs to be independent in order to play its role in that tripartite system of operating government, because a weak, undermined, partial and dependent judiciary, dependent on the whims of the executive, cannot execute its constitutional mandate. You and I want to go to court and find an impartial judge. There cannot be impartial justice unless there is independence of the judiciary.
All right, as you raise these issues, the Attorney General was at the same venue, where you were, where the judges...
Which I boycotted.
Which you boycotted.
And most other lawyers.
Although you boycotted your president, Uganda Law Society, Mr. Bernard Owundo, was there actually to represent you.
In a defiance of the members' will.
He actually said it was important not to boycott so that your voice could be heard. And he did express the issues that you actually wanted the executive and the judiciary to take hold of. But the Attorney General, Chwanuka Chiriowa, responded to some of these issues. Now, let's listen to what he said, and we see your understanding of this issue.
I was appalled by the decision of a section of the Law Society to discuss or in fact discipline a judicial officer in the conduct of their judicial function. That must stop. What were we going to do? Summon the judicial officer before us? That is wrong. We must know how far we must go and which fora to address our grievances. Again, we have had a lot of excitement about a communication between the President and the Chief Justice. Law Society sitting to discuss it. Discuss what? This is a communication between one arm of the state with the other arm. If the Law Society has the legal mandate, as so we say, to communicate our grievances to the judiciary, why then doesn't the executive have the right to communicate its grievances? Let us know how far we must go.
Well, you heard it there from Chiwanu Kachiliwa, the Attorney General, telling you that if you, the Law Society, can express your grievances to the judiciary, why shouldn't the executive do so?
The Attorney General, I think, didn't read our petitions. Clearly, was speaking from a point of ignorance, but also he needs to read the Constitution. It's very clear. First of all, the freedom of expression. Secondly, on judicial independence.
But that freedom to express
for the Attorney General of Uganda to go and express ignorance of the law before judges, it's very unfortunate. And to attempt to mislead the public that lawyers cannot talk about judges. Actually, both lawyers and members of the public can criticize any judicial decision made in this land. The media can also review judgments, they can analyze, they are very free. So he should not give the falsehood, start peddling lies that judgments, orders of courts are beyond discussion, are beyond criticism, are beyond analysis. We analyze judicial decision right from law school, right from the media. Some proceedings are even televised for that, very important. Public is a major stakeholder in judicial decisions and how the judiciary is run. So it is not the function of anyone from government to tell people that you can't discuss judges, you can't discuss judicial decisions. And of course, I am saying that... He's
actually saying you can, but it also means that even the president can discuss them.
No, again, he's confusing matters because the people and the president are different. The president controls the military. The president is so powerful that his words are not the words of a citizen. While the president can threaten judges, an ordinary person will not by mere words threaten judges. And what we are talking about is not ordering judges about. What we are saying citizens can do is criticize, is analyze, is give opinions. But no one in this land should tell judges what to do.
All right, good enough for
all lawyers wanted was to have a meeting for the Attorney General to speculate about what lawyers were going to do in that meeting is unfortunate. And to suggest that lawyers cannot meet to discuss judicial decisions, to discuss judges is sick logic, to use the words of the president, but is also born of ignorance.
All right, let's now go to His Worship, James Mawanda Eremia, who speaks for the judiciary, to get his comments. I'm told he has actually gone off. We are going to try and get back to him and ask him to comment on some of these issues. So, in your take, this has something to do with the independence of the judiciary. That's the main complaint that you have. The president to the
judiciary. Gravamen of our complaint, our petition, and our calling of the boycott. Mind you, a very overwhelmingly successful boycott of the new lawyer, which we regarded as merely ritualistic for failing to address past concerns and for not coming out. The problem we had with the judges is that they were taking it lightly, that they were being undermined, and they were encouraging the president to undermine them through their silence. Because most occasions, these errant, these egregious, unlawful and constitutional remarks of the president, some of them have been made in their face, in their presence. What we expect of our judiciary is to push back against presidential intrusion into the judicial space. We want judges to speak out loudly, to refuse, to resist this erosion of judicial independence. But we cannot afford to have judges whom the president tells jump and they say how high, and whom the president says shout and they say how loud. No, we want judges whom if the president says jump or shout, they say stop it.
Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible. Why not? Already there are judges who do it.
And where have you seen that kind of arrangement where the judges will say no?
No, the rape of the temple. When the temple was raped, when the guns went to when they took the rummaged to the High Court, there was a judgment that they decried that. There was a poem from the then principal judge named the rape of the temple, decrying that, and judges clearly saying this is the Rubicon you should not cross. This is a red line, we won't allow you to cross it. And the judges today can still do it because they have examples to draw from, not from America, not from Europe, not from Scandinavia, but right here in Uganda. Their predecessors stood tall and resisted executive incursion into the judicial space. We want the same from our judges.
All right, let's move on and look at the other issue you raised. You raised concerns around respect for court orders.
Yes. Court orders have to be respected because we don't need RDCs, policemen, reviewing, vetting, analyzing court orders. If a court gives an order, the duty of the citizen and the public functionary is to respect it. Yes, you can disagree with it. If you disagree with it, of course, you appeal it or you apply to set it aside, or you merely grumble, but you have to respect the order. And
have there been situations where court orders have not been respected?
Almost, yes, there are, the situations are there. I won't list them, but also related more routine undermining of court orders is police has a habit of vetting court orders in land matters. And most recently, you heard that the Ntungamo RDC was summoned, and he refused, and he went on to lambast the magistrate who had summoned him, complete with allegations of corruption and so on and so forth, which were, at least at that moment, baseless. So, court orders, once they are not respected, that is also undermining judicial independence, and that's also contempt. It's a crime. It's also a civil wrong, and it is antithetical to rule of law if orders of the judiciary are not being respected. It's important that we abide orders of the courts, even those we disagree with, and try to correct them and try to advise the judiciary to perform better where it's not performing well. But orders have to be accepted, or rather, not accepted, but have to be obeyed, even when seeming unacceptable, as measures are undertaken to correct them.
So you've had these grievances communicated to judiciary, but also communicated to the executive. Has there been a response? How do you intend to handle these issues going forward? Because you do not want to injure the relationship that is between you as officers of the court with the judges and even
every lawyer
members of the public.
Yeah, clearly. We want harmony. All of us want harmony. If we are moved to make some statements, it's because we think that there are conditions warranting it, because injustice is not something to tolerate. Tolerating injustice would be myopic, would be ultimately counterproductive. And while we are very keen on a harmonious, happy relationship with the jury stakeholders and especially the judges, that is not an altar on which we are going to sacrifice essentials of rule of law and our commitment to justice. So we are ready to pay any price that it takes, that there is to pay, for us to keep our voices up against injustice, for us to assert our freedom of expression, including and especially regarding the performance of the judiciary. But we are happy with well, I can't say we are happy with, but we note the responses.
All right. Let's hear from His Worship Eremie on how they treat the issues that you've been raising. Your Worship, thank you very much for joining us on the line. Your Worship, can you hear me? Well, we are not getting feedback. We are not getting any feedback from him. Let's wait for the technical team to actually continue with fixing the line to see if we can get him clearly. But dear listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're looking at emerging issues that could erode public interest in the judiciary. My guest, Mr. Aaron Kiza, human rights lawyer, is among those who are not happy with what is going on. And we are trying to get His Worship James Mawanda Eremie on the line. He is the judiciary spokesperson. But we encourage you to send in your comments. Do you think the judiciary in Uganda is independent? And what can we do to actually ensure that it becomes independent? And on your side, what are some of the issues that you think need to be addressed for the judiciary to actually ensure access to justice as a key issue in our society today. Send us a message on our WhatsApp line, which is 0703 090 090, and the guests will respond to them. Now, Aaron Kiza, let's look at the issue of access to justice. It's one of the critical issues that we see coming up in reports concerning human rights. People talking about how access to justice remains a key challenge in our country. In your experience as an officer of the court, what are some of those impediments that still cause a problem when it comes to access to justice?
The biggest is money. People are poor. They can't afford legal services. The vast majority of Ugandans can actually not afford legal services when they need them. So that keeps them away from justice. It's a major impediment, and there is a need for Uganda to have a legal aid law so that the poor people can also access justice, so that justice is not just for the strong, for the powerful, for the educated, for the people living in the cities, but that justice is also for the less fortunate members of the society, for the illiterates, for people in the mountains, people in the villages. And while we have many people in cities, there are also a good number of people who are in the far-flung areas of Uganda. It's important that they, like us, also have an equal shot at justice. And but of course, apart from the monetary impediment to access to justice, are also issues like delayed justice that defeats justice, owing to many causes behind the case backlog. Courts are still relatively few, although there are efforts to expand them. I think they are trying to ensure that every district has a magistrate's court and so on and so forth. And there are bigger plans to ensure there is a magistrate's court in every county. Good ideas. We need access. We need justice to go to the people, because judges and the government exist to serve the people, and justice is a public good. It should be accessible to the public. If the public can't access it reasonably, quickly, and relatively conveniently, then it's not justice. We have to get another name for it. All right,
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll come back with His Worship Eremie. Hopefully he will be on the line to respond to some of the issues that Mr. Aaron Kiza has put across. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Stay tuned, we'll be back to continue with this discussion.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us on Spectrum, which is live on Radio 1 FM 90. Our topic of discussion today, we are looking at emerging issues that could erode public trust in the judiciary. And my guest, Mr. Aaron Kiza, human rights lawyer, who is with us here in studio. And on the line right now, we are joined by His Worship James Mawanda Eremie, who is the judiciary spokesperson. Thank you very much, Your Worship, for joining us on the line. We have had technical issues, but finally, we can now hear you loud and clear. Your fellow panelist here in studio, Aaron Kiza, has raised a number of issues, including those touching the independence of the judiciary, saying that, for instance, it's wrong for the president to be directing the judiciary on how to handle cases. And it's one of the issues that he says could erode public trust in the judiciary. And the background is the fact that a number of lawyers did raise issues ahead of that big function you had at the High Court recently. What is your response as the judiciary on the issues that are being raised by these lawyers?
Well, it's unfortunate that I was unable to follow his discussion from the beginning. But all what I can say is that the Honorable Chief Justice invited the bar for a bar bench meeting. The same is going to be held on the 21st at Kabila, and I will invite the Uganda Law Society and all its membership to come, and we have a discussion. The Honorable Chief Justice said that there are so many issues which affect the independence of the judiciary, but when they do arise, avenues, appropriate avenues through which DSM could be discussed. And so he invited the Uganda Law Society for the Bar Bench Forum, and we are looking forward to having that conversation. So they are most welcome. We shall be available to engage and to have meaningful discourse over those issues.
All right, but where do you stand on this issue of the independence of the judiciary? Would you confidently stand and say that the judiciary is independent and not taking orders from somewhere else as far as the handling of cases is concerned?
Yeah, because the Constitution guarantees the independence of the judiciary. And what people's opinions are may not necessarily be the position of the institution. However, by and large, we welcome all the discussion and the engagements that will ensure the building and totaling of the independence of the judiciary. And that's the purpose why the Bar Bench has been called. It has been an annual an engagement. So it is good. It is even just next week, and so we invited people. Let us come and talk. Than having imaginations, speaking things that we may not be able to sustain. So let us have these engagements, and we shall be able to have a fruitful deliberations.
All right, there's a particular issue they are raising, the letter that President Yoweri Museveni wrote to the Chief Justice complaining about how a case involving Muslim properties was handled. And they are looking at that as something that they say is interference with the work of the judiciary. Have you been able to internalize that issue, and what would be your take?
Let them come, we shall talk about that.
We have millions of Ugandans who are listening to this radio station who would want to hear how the judiciary is handling that issue.
When we have that meaningful discussion, we shall inform the general public.
All right, and then the other concern is around the issues that are hindering access to justice as far as the judiciary is concerned. And from your assessment, I'm sure you know some of those issues which are still outstanding. What are you doing about them?
Matters like what? Because as I said earlier, I didn't know what he was saying. That could have probably prompted this question. But of course, we have so many challenges. One of them being the funding. We still have funding gaps and funding priorities. The second of which is the human resource. We still have gaps in the establishment and structures of the courts. The other is the transport, okay? Because you can see the absence of transport also affects so many issues, including case management, probably in say in the land justice area and any other areas. We need transport for locust visits. The other is the limited infrastructure, ICT infrastructure. Those are issues. Sadly, even in terms of court housing, some of the institutions, our officers are not properly housed. Then you look at other matters with which is on support staff, even their remuneration. Those are all the challenges. Then, of course, outside the judiciary, we have stakeholders. For instance, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Much as we have the numbers, the numbers we have so far are not in tandem with what the ODPP can do in the criminal justice area. So all those still affect us. What about the capacity of police to do investigations and all other forensics? Those are all the challenges which affect the capacity of the judiciary handling its work.
All right, let's come back here in studio, Mr. Aaron Kiza. You've had a response from the spokesperson of the judiciary. For instance, they are inviting you for dialogue on the number of issues that you have been raising, and the meeting is as soon as next week.
We shall go there. We shall attend the bar bench discussion, and hopefully we shall have fruitful discussions. As he has said, this is not the first one. Previous ones have not solved these particular issues. So we hope this one can make a difference. And if it doesn't, we hope that at least we can have an honest, frank discussion and total commitment to these issues, because it's on a backbench and threats judicial independence. Some of them are really external, like the president's letter. The president wants to be in the room. The RDC want to be in the room. There are issues that the backbench cannot solve.
Will the Attorney General be there?
He ought to be there. He ought to be there.
So he will be representing the president and even the government institutions that you're talking about.
Hopefully. Let's hope he comes and represents those major threats to judicial independence, but also represents them as a legal mind, not as a political activist of NRM. So we look forward to the event. But we have to manage our expectations about what the backbench forum can do, but also be positive that there is something we can do, and only do our best, that which we are possible of doing. What we really want most is a robust, confident defense by judges of the judiciary. Yeah, you can see the discomfiture with the letter when you talked about it. Is not ready to comment about it, and let's see whether we can have, after the backbench, judicial officers who are willing to say when the president is threatening their independence that he is doing so. It's precarious. That's why I told you the president is very different from other citizens. If it was an ordinary person, the spokesperson would be freely castigating that person. But very few judges want to, especially in the public domain, get back to the president, and for the obvious reasons that he will have the final say on their appointment, on their promotions, and so on and so forth. So you understand the dilemma in which we also press them with these issues, but we have no option. We have to, if we really love this country, we have to press for good governance, and we have to press for rule of law, including independence of the judiciary.
Well, we have a situation where the president appoints the judges. Like you also said, he can easily influence their promotion, which means he has a hand in the manner in which...
The immediate predecessor of the current Chief Justice, Justice Katurebe, it took a lot of wrangling to confirm him. They were reluctant to confirm him for a while. And it shows you the enormous power of the president. And we know that there are incidents when names by Judicial Service Commission, the president refuses to honor them. The president is not just interfering with the judiciary. He's also interfering with other organs of JEROS, including the Judicial Service Commission, and how they nominate. There are constitutional law in the nomination, selection, appointment of judges. The president interferes with it and wants to dominate it, and actually dominates it. It does not help, of course, that even the parliament, when vetting these judges, does it like the way the Pope is selected. We are waiting for white smoke. We don't know what's happening when they are assessing
if that
these
is
judges.
The case, then your anger should be directed to the law that gives the president those powers to actually do so, because
although the president abuses his powers, the powers he has,
allegedly,
the law does not allow him to manipulate the process. For example, he is bound, according to the law, by nominations of the Judicial Service Commission, but he has a habit of pushing illegally those names back and indicating his preferences. So the law is not as bad as the practice that the president has engendered in that area. The law can be made better, but it's not as bad. If we followed even this imperfect law, we would have a better judiciary.
Right, Your Worship, we have a situation where the judiciary, the judicial officers are actually appointed, the judges are appointed by the president. He is also the person that has the influence on how much is actually allocated to judiciary. Is there a situation where we can even talk about the independence of the judiciary, taking into account how the judges are appointed, how the judiciary is funded, and the number of challenges you still face that from time to time the Chief Justice has been appealing to the President to attend to?
First of all, we have to agree that everything that you said is a creature of the law. The Constitution gives the powers to appoint the judges, and there's nothing that I can say about those powers because they are his mandate. But also too, the alleged influences. I don't know the source of information by my brother, and I don't want to imagine equally that those things happen. I don't speak for Judicial Service Commission to be able to confidently say this is what happened. But by and large, I can only say that one, we as an arm of government, we receive funding from government, taxpayers' money, and for the purposes of rendering a service to the people of Uganda. Now, when we need this money, we get this money from the ministry responsible. As far as that's concerned, we present our annual budgets, we defend them, they give us the funding. If the resource envelope is limited, we are given money in relation to the extent to which the entire government can be run. Now, we have challenges like any other government institution. How we manage these challenges is another issue. But we, by and large, with the abundance mentality, we proceed to we achieve optimally what we are expected to do. So when you speak about the powers, you speak about the interferences, you speak about all of these issues, we are only saying that those are very helpful conversations that we need, we can engage, we come up with solutions, and they will forward. But we are only saying that each and everybody must respect the independence of the judiciary. And this has been said. The Chief Justice has raised it, and he has said as long as he's still the Chief Justice, he will ensure that independence, not only of the institution, but even of the individual officers.
All right, we have some comments that are coming in from the listeners. One of them is Agre Musinguzi, who is listening in from Rubanda West constituency. He says, there's no independence as far as the judiciary is concerned, especially in Uganda, when cases are being managed basing on precedents. Africa has a different setups and historical backgrounds from other Western countries, and the continued application of this phenomena of judgments based on precedents is really null and void. That is his comment there, and I will be asking you to respond to it. We have another comment coming in from another listener who says, good evening, Kenneth. Robs from Kireka. I think the judiciary should also do away with inequalities based on ethnicity, financial status, and gender. There should also be an improvement in technology used in research towards the investigations to be presented in court. That's a comment from Rob there. And then we have another comment from David, who says, as a human rights lawyer, let him tell us how often in his day-to-day practice he lives by the rule of law given the Ugandan context, where there are increasing reported cases of lawyers embezzling clients' money, engaging in forgery of documents, citing cases that don't exist, among others. That's a point that goes to the human rights lawyer, Aaron Kiza. Your Worship, Eremia, would you like to respond to some of the comments that are directed to you? This issue on improvement in the area of technology as a tool of access to justice, but also somebody still insists there can't be independence of the judiciary here, looking at the way you operate.
Thank you very much for that observation. And I want to thank the caller because truly we recognize that technology has a great impact on how service delivery can be improved. We want to thank the government first of all, for enabling us to embrace technology, and specifically in the area of case management, communications, and all other related areas. Truly, we are moving into the fifth industrial revolution. And by that fact, there is no way we are going to hide behind and say we cannot embrace technology. We have embraced technology, and one of the areas is e-case management, where we have now what we call ECMIS, and ECMIS is intended to improve efficiency and effectiveness of the case management system and the operations of the court. Therefore, I want to agree and thank him for recognizing that, yes, technology is important, and we are embracing and we seek all the necessary support to have us achieve the very, very good fruits of technological advancement. Yes. Then on the issue of thinking that there's nothing that can be improved, that's just being pessimistic. We would like to work together with everybody, and we see to it that we improve the judiciary and serve the people of Uganda. I don't know whether I fixed the question well, because my network keeps on leaking.
All right, and let's hear from Aaron Kiza here in studio. Your response to these issues that the listeners have put across.
Which one specifically?
There are a number. Do you agree that using precedents as a method of doing rulings and citing cases that have happened in other Western countries should be abandoned? Somebody here thinks that it's a bad practice, does not rhyme well with the African context. There's somebody here who is raising issues on the improvement in the area of technology, and you've had His Worship there responding. But there's somebody who's actually concerned that you're asking for too much. He's saying, in your day-to-day life, do you live following the tenets of rule of law, given what we have in Uganda, the context of Uganda?
Yes, I try my best to live in accordance with the tenets of rule of law. About technology, there is no doubt about the importance of technology. It eases the delivery of justice in some respects, making it quicker, eases the work of judges to prepare, judicial officers to prepare their submissions, to do their research. It helps with conducting remote trials where the physical ones are impossible, and that became even more manifest during COVID-19. I don't remember the other question. I hope so. The technology is very important. We can't afford to lag behind. We have to keep up the pace. About precedents, yes, the issue of precedents, you can't run away from the wisdom of old people. What is important is that you don't dogmatically or copy and paste precedents, but you acclimatize them to the conditions, the local conditions. So precedents are not a problem. How you apply them is what makes a difference, and we all copy from each other. We learn from each other, including from our predecessors. That is true of life as it is of the law, and I don't think we should run away from precedents where they can inspire creativity, where they can enrich our wisdom, expand the horizons of our knowledge, and be important guides in areas where we would otherwise be confused. We just have to sieve the wheat from the chaff.
All right, maybe let's go to His Worship Eremi for his last comment on this issue. But I think we have lost him there. I've just had him dropping off. But maybe let me come to you. There's been an issue of delay to deliver judgments, and at one point the Chief Justice had to direct a judge to dispense several cases that were on his desk. As lawyers, as you head into that meeting next week, what kind of message are you taking to the judiciary as we come to the end of this show?
Yeah, to continue improving and ensure that litigants get resolution of their matters within a reasonable time, and that's very important for all cases, but is even more pronounced when people have criminal proceedings. so that people do not have to wait on remand forever. People do not have to wait for appellate processes that last up to 8 years. People delay defeats equity, and justice delayed truly is justice denied. Everyone, include every stakeholder in justice, including lawyers, but more so the judges, must ensure that the cases are resolved within a reasonable time.
Reasonable time, like within which time frame would you want a case, for instance?
A lot
to be
really
handled?
depends on the complexity of the case. Cases are not like it's not like buying matoke. It's not like having a surgery which can last in a matter of hours. But an appeal should not really last. Shouldn't last more than a year. An appeal, because there is already a record. So if we have enough judges who are committed to the job, they should be able to handle for an appeal in a year. That is one area where I can easily say. And there is no or again, he talked about stakeholders like police and prosecution. All those factored into. I don't know why a criminal case should also last more than a year. These are supposed to be tried, especially regardless. I mean, especially when someone is in remand, that should even not. It should even be like 6 months. So these are mere suggestions when it comes to timelines, born of course of my experience. But it's difficult. What is clear is, what is very important is that everyone, including the litigants, see that the courts are making every effort to conclude matters as possible.
All right, there's another leg of a comment made by David, which you didn't respond to. He's concerned about lawyers, the character of lawyers, embezzling clients' money, engaging in forgery of documents, citing cases that do not exist, which basically points to lawyers not doing a good job. Do you also have an opportunity as the Law Society to actually assess yourself and look at some of the things that you're doing? There are people out there who are actually not happy with certain lawyers.
Yeah, no one can be happy about these things. We are also annoyed with bankers who are unethical, doctors who don't do a good job, traders who use the wrong weighing scales, and so on and so on and so forth. But as among within the Law Society, we condemn our brothers who are engaging in fraud or sharp practices, and there is an institution outside the Law Society called the Law Council that disciplines us when we go wrong. If I embezzle your money, if I don't perform ethically, you can take me to the Law Council and hold me accountable. You can be compensated and other remedies and so on and so forth. And you can even sue me in some instances. So there is even a recent case judgment, I think, by Stephen Movero talking about that. So that is something we condemn. It's so wrong. But also don't say lawyers as if every lawyer is behaving like that. I know that the bad apples can spoil the entire basket, and we are not complacent about that. But it is also true that there are some lawyers who are doing a good job.
Right, we are coming to the end of this discussion. I would like to hear your last message on this particular issue that we've been discussing, and probably your way forward, even as you prepare for that meeting with judiciary next week.
For us, we shall continue doing our work as lawyers, especially social justice lawyers, human rights lawyers, to give life and meaning to the provisions of our Constitution, to speak up against injustice, whether it comes from the LC1 chairman or the President of the Republic. We shall embrace the opportunity of the Bar Bench Forum to have a meaningful conversation about this matter. But I also want to inform the public and the citizenry that they have a colossal stake in good governance, in ensuring that the rule of law is adhered to, and one of the ingredients of rule of law is access to justice, is an independent judiciary, and an atmosphere where fundamental human rights and freedoms are respected, and they will not be respected on a silver platter. All of us, every citizen, needs to take this their responsibility to be each other's neighbor, to ensure that if my rights are violated, you speak up for me, you try to help me, to protect me, and I should do likewise. Let's be each other's keeper. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we come to the end of Spectrum. Thank you so much, my dear guests, for making time to actually share with Ugandans on this particular topic. And thank you very much, dear listeners, for actually contributing your views to this discussion. Tomorrow is a public holiday, but we will be here in studio analyzing the key events of the week on Spectrum Extra. Join me then. But up next, we have the news in English with Miss Josephine Dagano. Thereafter, we'll have the Soul Train with BB Jr.